Elements of Harmony and Savior Worlds by RK Striker JK5, Chapter 23. Twilight hopped about, finally breaking into a full-blown gallop. Shining! Princess Cadence! She shouted as she approached her big brother in full air. She bounced around him before finally stopping before Shining Armor and leaning her neck against his. I've missed you so much! Shining Armor slowly smiled and leaned against Twilight. Missed you too, Twilight. Missed you too. Twilight leaned back. She turned, spotting Applejack, Big Mac, and Fluttershy. Oh my gosh! She blurted out, this is perfect! Her horn glowed, and a clipboard appeared in a flash of magenta light. It hovered close to her face. Now I can check off talking about the family. This is so great! Applejack blinked. What? She craned her neck up and over. Twilight, what are y'all doing? The clipboard floated down. Letting Twilight looked up at Applejack. I'm checking off introduce family to friends off the list, of course. The clipboard slid back up, and the quill scratched over. There we go, she said, the quill of the clipboard vanishing with another flash of magenta light. She stepped over to the side and waved a four-legged, shining armor at Cadence. Applejack, Big Macintosh, Fluttershy, this is my big brother and best friend, Shining Armor, and this is Princess Cadence, best false singer in all of Equestria. Cadence's cheeks colored slightly. Oh, Twilight. Big Mac chuckled slightly. I'm afraid we're my ahead of you, Twilight. We met while waiting on Princess Celestia and the rest of y'all. He looked at Shining Armor and tilted his head slightly. Much obliged, Captain Armor. Shining Armor returned a nod. Likewise, Sergeant Apple. He looked at Twilight, sighing. Twilight, what did Cadence and I tell you about listing everything in life? He asked, motioning to Cadence as she stood beside him. Cadence nodded. You have to remember to put away the checklist and live life as it comes to you. It's not so early that you can check off things like that. Twilight shrugged. I wrote that down right below, loosen up, and make friends. She glanced in the sky. Wait a second. Her head whipped around the Shining Armor Cadence. Oh, I get it. You didn't want me to write that down, right? Shining Armor Cadence glanced at each other, then over to Applejack. She's like this a lot? Shining Armor asked. Applejack shrugged. She used the book to run her first sleepover. Twilight's eyes started back and forth. Her head ducked down and her cheeks colored slightly. Did I do something wrong? She asked, voice quavering. She went to Shining and Cadence, swallowing. I just fell into the routine with a bit with the checklist. Was there something I missed? Celestia's booming voice caught everyone's attention. Cadence! Please! Step forth! Cadence's head shot up at her aunt's voice. So, that's Megan, she muttered. The pink alicorn tried to Twilight's side and leaned down and gently nestled her. You didn't do anything really wrong. Just maybe not as right as you could have. And with that, she turned and walked off. Shining cleared his throat, catching Twilight's attention. I'm just a little curious about why you didn't tell your friends about me, Twilight. He scraped the ground with an armored hoof, digging a small furrow. It's been nearly 11 months since you left Canterlot, and I know I've been busy with the Royal Guard, and our letters haven't been as frequent as earlier, but it's just odd. Applejack held up a hoof. Now, hold on there, partner. It's not as odd as you might think. Our good buddy Rabel Dash don't talk much about her folks, and I knew Rarity nearly 2 years before I even heard mention of her kin. Sometimes that stuff just don't come up in conversation. Sarah blinked. Well, that put things in perspective. He looked toward Twilight, cleared his throat. So, Twilight, could you introduce me to your friends? I would love to meet them. Twilight blinked. A slow smile spread across her face. Everybody, this is my big brother, the best big brother in the world. Well, tied with Big Macintosh, she said, waving to Shining Armor as he drew himself up. Shining Armor, these are my friends, Applejack, Big Macintosh, and Fluttershy. Applejack tipped her head forward, letting her head slide down a bit. Pleasure to meet you, Shining. Fluttershy tilted her head to the side, smiling, while Big Mac nodded to him. Twilight stepped to Shining Armor's side. Thanks, she said, and I am sorry for not mentioning you before, Hoof. Shining Armor glanced over at Twilight Swithers as Cadence and Mike Richards approached. Well, there is something Cadence and I have to tell you. He looked at Cadence and smiled, but his grin fell away as he drifted up to Mike. By the herd, you're like a minotaur! He squared his shoulders, planting his hose apart almost instinctively. Mike blinked. What? He looked himself over. Twilight looked at Shining Armor, then to Mike. Oh no! Shining, this is Mike Richards, Megan's husband. Mike, this is my big brother, Shining Armor. As he paused to lean in close. Shining? Shining Armor stared at Mike, his jaw opened slightly. Husband? Of the Magne? He dropped his head, tossing his horn to the ground. I am humbled. Mike's jaw worked for a moment before he looked at Caius. Help? He asked, jerking his head in Shining Armor's direction. Caius rolled her eyes before trying to Shining Armor's side. She stretched out a wing and gently ran the primary converts over his barrel. Smoopy-doo, she said with a sly smile on her muzzle. Shining Armor's head shot straight up, his eyes rolling around in their sockets and his legs quivering. Cadence! He blurted out. He cantered to the left, body wobbling. Twilight's here for her sake, he hissed out. Cadence rolled her eyes. Then don't bow like that. She fixed him with a glare. You know how embarrassing it is for me. How do you think Mike feels about it? Shining Armor's face blushed. He looked at Mike, meeting his eyes and sucking in a breath. My apologies, Mike. That was rude of me to treat you like that. He raised the forelight to him. Mike shifted a bit and switched to his toolbox around before grabbing Shining Armor's preferred hoof, now with his free right hand. No problem, Mr. Armor. He looked no, and bent his knee slightly. Princess Celestia would like me back at the Ponyville Library afterward, so it might be a good idea to get going. Applejack nodded. Sounds good to me, too. She tipped her head forward once more. Pleasure meeting you all today. She trotted over to Mike's side, gently wrapping his chin with her elbow. So, why don't we mosey on over to Sweet Apple Acres? I'll see you on what needs to be done there. She glanced over to Big Mac and Fluttershy. Big Mac, why don't you escort Fluttershy there? She said, her right eye twitching slightly. Big Mac's head shot over, ears waving. What? He asked. He pointed a hoof at Mike. But I thought. Mike rubbed his chin. Good idea, Applejack. He bowed slightly to Cadence, Shining Armor, and Twilight. Pleased to meet you, Cadence, Shining. Twilight, I'll see you at the library. He waited for Applejack to start walking off before following her, but paused next to Fluttershy. He looked at the Pegasus over for a second. Wow, your mind looks lovely, Fluttershy. He tilted his head up, looking at Big Mac next to her. Won't you agree, Big Mike? Fluttershy's head drooped down, mane falling in front of her cheeks and turned a shade of red, not like Big Mac's own coat. Big Mac merely pawed at the dirt, grunting slightly. Cadence's hoof smacked her forehead, right below her horn. Good grief! She looked at Mike. Not the smoothest I've seen. Mike hesitated before shrugging. I know. He and Applejack began walking down the path leading to Ponyville and Sweet Apple Acres, followed by Big Mac and Fluttershy. Cadence, Shining Armor, looked at Twilight as she stood there. Cadence leaned down, looking at the ribbons twined in Twilight's tail and the braids twisted in her mane. Twilight, what the hay happened to your mane and tail? Cadence asked. Twilight's head and shoulders shook. Michelle, the ribbons, the brushy. She rolled her eyes. The daughter of the Magne wields a fearsome breastless to say. She suddenly gasped. Ponyville! Shining Armor blinked. Yeah, we're about 2 minutes away from there. He got his head to the side. You okay, Twilight? Twilight's legs tensed as she bounced around Cadence and Shining Armor. I have to take you on a tour! She exclaimed, grinning. There are a lot of great ponies for you to meet there. It's so nice! She stopped right in front of the parrot, her grin fading slightly. And I have to make up for not mentioning you to my friends, she said, her ears flattening. The captain of the Royal Guard reached out, wrapping a foreleg around Twilight's neck. Nothing to make up, he said, nuzzling her slightly. It was a simple mistake, Twilight. Cadence stepped forward, joining in the hug. Shiny's right, Twilight. Could have happened to any pony. Besides, Shining and I have let something slip our minds. She let go, stepping back. And it's big. Twilight stared at Cadence and Shining Armor and stepped back. Big? She cocked her head to the side. How big? The two older ponies pasted grins on their faces, eyes staring to one another. How about I tell you at once? Shining Armor suggested. He waved a foreleg around at a few ponies still gathered around the edge of the field. Somewhere a little less open? My treat. Twilight nodded. She trotted down the path to Ponyville, Shining Armor and Cadence following. Her head twisted around. Oh, this is going to be so great! You'll meet my friends, see where I live, the schoolhouse. Chip ran his fingers along the edge of the shelf, his eyes scanning the spines of the books there. He stepped forward, his legs whirring slightly underneath the pants legs. He picked a book and slid it out, with practiced ease, and opened it, adjusting his glasses. I assume that this is your native language? He looked up at Celestia, holding the book open and motioning to the symbols on the pages. Celestia sat across the main foyer of the Ponyville Public Library on a large cushion. A table in front of her with snacks and beverages placed on it. She craned her long neck up and over, looking at the book Chip held in front of him. Ah, I love that one. And yes, it's an evolved form of Old High English. It was mostly spoken at Queen Majesty's court at Dream Castle, or at least before the Great Sundering. Chip's lips pursed slightly. He put the book back and pulled out his cell phone out of his pockets. Within moments, he was scrolling through screens of text. I don't recall anything about a Great Sundering. The Queen Majesty was mentioned a few times, though. Celestia waited for him to sit down on a cushion right across from her before speaking. About 20 years before Megan arrived, Queen Majesty ruled a beautiful kingdom, or at least that's how the princess ponies told it, she said, glancing down at the floor. Unfortunately, she was the last queen. Tirek, the abomination, stormed Dream Castle one day, destroying the kingdom in one night. Thunder boomed, and lightning flashed, and storm clouds rolled through the air as Queen Majesty's horns sliced through the air. The white-coated Unicron cantered about, spells firing from her at her opponent. You can't win, Tirek! She cried out, one hoof slipping over slightly against the rain-soaked grass. The Moochick already has the rainbow, and the princess ponies have fled to the Crystal Castle. Her horn lit up once more, a green fog coming from it, and surrounding the only other being there. Tirek, the abomination, stood, a sneer on his demonic centaur's gray lips. He held up a blood-red hand, and the fog dispersed.
How pathetic,
he growled, voice like nails on a chalkboard.
Majesty, the time of ponies is gone. The power of your ancestors has fled. Accept it and pass to your precious herd with minimum pain.
Majesty continued galloping around in a circle. Never! She cried out, suddenly stopping and angling her direction for a charge right at Tyrek's ash-gray right flank. She lowered her head as she approached, and let out a gurgling gasp as T-Rex's hand snaked out, grabbing her horn. His muscular arms strained as he dragged Majesty around. Her horn sparked, but any spell was stopped as he squeezed, cracking the keratin. Majesty's eyes rolled back in pain and washed over through her skull. She dug her hose into the grass, but found little purchase in the mud.
Brave, but futile,
T-Rex stated, his voice holding almost an air of boredom to it. He raised his arm, dragging Majesty up to eye level.
It thus your kingdom dies.
His free hand went to a pulsating bag tied around his neck.
Prepare for death, your Majesty.
Majesty's eyes glistened. Her lips curled back as he spat a spot of saliva onto T-Rex's red face. Enjoy your victory while you can, she snarled. I have foreseen it, Tirek. Over the rainbow shall come your doom, one who will unite the ponies in a new golden age. T-Rex's fingers continued to listen to Knot, keeping the bag around his neck closed.
Perhaps, but you will not be there to see it.
The bag opened up, and a black rainbow shot out, wrapping around Majesty's head and body. It pulsed. A muffled cry echoed throughout the Ponyland, and Majesty was no more. The kingdom was fractured into dozens of enclaves in many states. Tirek hunted them down one by one, wiping out a half-dozen before attacking the ponies at Midnight Castle. A bittersweet smile crossed Celestia's lips. That was then Firefly crossed the original Rainbow Bridge, and you know the rest. She looked away. I told Megan that Luna and I remain princesses to keep close to our subjects and to attend tea parties. The truth is, I feel like we're stewards, waiting for Queen Majesty's true heir to reappear. Chip sipped on his tea. I'm so sorry, he said, keeping his eyes on the table. You've done a lot to rebuild. Celestia nodded. She glanced at the door in Ponyville beyond. Megan, Molly, and Danny have gave us the tools and the impetus to reform and rebuild. Without them, our Dark Ages would still be going on. She focused on Chip. Humans seem to be very good at that, from what I heard about those metal ones from the stars. Chip's eyebrow arched as he looked up to her. Oh, the Autobots? He shrugged. We can be good at it. We've had our dark times in history. He shook his head, sighing. A lot of dark times. The Unicorn chuckled slightly. I know, Chip. A lot of the books we were given were history books. She leaned in. We ponies don't have lily white hooves, especially in the 20 years between Master C's death and Megan's arrival. And there's also the minotaurs, goats, cows, zebras, penguins, crab nasties, griffins, boars, elk, deer, caribou, the impalas, that one race from where loyalties lie. She met Chip's eyes. We could be as bad as humans, but also as good as humans. So, let's focus on the good we could do together, Mr. Chase. Chip shifted a bit on his cushion. Well, this is more like a fact fighting, Your Majesty. He waved his left arm around the air. I'm not really authorized to conduct negotiations at the moment. I came here to determine the threat level of the interdimensional hole to Earth and learn what I can. Celestia leaned in. Is the rainbow threads a threat? No, Chip replied. He leaned in on the table, throwing his fingers together and leaning elbows on the table. No, it's not. From all indications, it's stable. It won't grow or shrink without massive outside influence. He waved to Celestia. So, there's a rainbow bridge on Earth leading into an alternate reality. The question now becomes, what do you want? Celestia took a sip of tea, a few bites of a sandwich. Your phone. It can record? It just nodded. She stood up and tried to an empty space on the foyer. What is the name of your current president? She asked, spinning around to face Chip. Chip stood up, holding his phone in his hand. Clayton Abernathy. He touched his phone screen and held it up. This isn't the usual way we send messages, he said, smirking. Celestia paused and held up a foreleg. Wait. She turned, ethereal mane flowing out. Could you wait here a moment, please? I need to get Luna. It wouldn't be right for me to deliver this message alone, and I could travel much faster without passengers. Chip nodded. He pocketed his camera and walked over to a bookshelf and slid out on his thick stone. I'll do some light reading, he said. Celestia smiled. Thank you. She turned and trotted to an already opening front door. As soon as she stepped out, her entire form contracted into a golden spear. It flew off, quickly dissipating. 2 minutes passed before the spear returned, expanding into Celestia. She touched her head as she entered. Chip Chase, may I present the Lunar Tirek of the Equestrian Alliance, Princess Luna. Celestia stepped aside as blue mist drifted in. The interior darkened slightly as the mist expanded. Legs, neck, head, wings flowing out from the mist. Lightning flashed and thunder crashed in the clear blue sky as Luna stepped forward, her body solidifying. Greetings! She shouted, thrusting her hoof in the air. I, a Princess Luna, ruler of the night! Chip put the book down and bowed to the waist. I am Chip Chase, representative of Earth and of the United States of America. Luna sucked in a breath. She walked forward, circling chest. We are known on Earth? She stopped in front of him and waved a wing at him. Friedton, what is the intent of your government concerning Equestria and Ponyland? Chip straightened up, raising his head to look at Luna in the eyes. Well, we'd like to establish peaceful relations to you, if possible. Trade, diplomatic relations, cultural exchanges, if you're willing to, that is. Luna's head bobbed slightly. Quite willing, Chip Chase. My sister and I wish for peaceful relations with humanity. She extended a foreleg. Chip looked her over before reaching out and grabbing Luna's proffered hand, squeezing it gently. He let go and held up his camera. I can record a message from you for President Abernathy to watch when I get back to Earth. Celestia walked to her sister's side, leaned down, looking at the lens of the phone. That's a phone and a recorder, just like Megan's. How much recording time do you have on that? Chip shrugged. About 8 hours worth, I think. He stepped back and held it up. Whenever you're ready. Celestia and Luna exchanged a glance, both blushing. Well, go on. Celestia cleared her throat. All right. Please start now, Chip. She waited a moment before speaking. President Clayton Abernathy, I am Princess Celestia, and this is my sister, Princess Luna. We are the Diarchs of the Equestrian Alliance. 1,509 years ago, by our reckoning, three humans came to Ponyland, bringing knowledge and a sense of unity to the various pony tribes. Without their help, our world would be covered in darkness, torn apart by war and death. Luna spoke. We wish to extend to you and to all of humanity our hope and friendship. It is our hope and desire together pony and humans can accomplish so much more than alone, as it has been done before. Thank you. There was a silence for a moment before Luna leaned down, peering into the lens. Is this off? Chip bit his lip and cleared his throat. He touched the screen. It is now. He slid into his pocket. You two did that pretty quickly. I'm guessing you don't employ speechwriters? Celestia shook her head. I have been doing this a long time, and Luna and I are sisters. She extended a wing, folding it over Luna's back, smiling. We're more complementary to each other than opposites. Luna leaned against her neck against Celestia's. Thank you, sister. She straightened up. I trust this shall be delivered to your president. Chip placed his hands on his chest. You have my word, Majesty. Luna's eyes softened. Please, call me Luna. Chapter 24. Megan walked through the Ponyville. Danielle, Michelle on her right, Scootaloo Scooter and Wagon on to her left, Dinky and Sleepbell riding in the wagon as she towed. She paused every now and then as the ponies bowed their head once more, some almost touching their foreheads in the grass. Yeah, it's nice to see you, she said as she bowed. Now please, stop bowing to me. The group continued on, Megan bowing once in a while to acknowledge more ponies, until they eventually reached Carousel Boutique. Megan looked up and down the two-story shop. Colorful, she deadpanned. She glanced to her left as 6 mining carts, each one overflowing with precious gemstones. Randy doesn't joke around when she goes gemstone hunting, she exclaimed, eyes wide at the mineral wealth there. Sweetie Belle stood up on the wagon and tossed her forelegs in the air. That's my sis, she touted, waving her hose about. The unicorn's expression changed her surprise as she toppled back. Whoa! Falling out of the wagon and landing on the grass with a mild thud. Dinky leaned over to the wagon's side. Are you all right? Sweetie Belle's body rocked slightly before she sprang to her hoofs. I'm okay. Megan and Scootaloo exchanged a quick glance before Megan walked forward. She gasped and quickened her pace as the front door opened and Spike darted out, slamming it behind him. She reached the baby dragon and knelt down beside him. Spike, what's going on? She asked, one hand staying to her rifle slung across her back, her eyes drifting towards the door. Spike stood against the door for a moment, panting. His eyes darted around as the others caught up to Megan. Megan! Randy's gone nuts! He balled his claws into fists and waved in the air. Her pony kids are dancing about in there, and I think she's gone nuts! Sweetie Belle gasped. She charged to the door and reared back, slamming her hose against the door. Sis! Sis! She cried out, continuing to beat the door. Scootaloo, Dinky, Michelle, Danielle quickly flanked her as she stopped to all fours. We've got to help her. Danielle patted Sweetie Belle on the back. We'll help her. She went to Megan. Right, Mom? Megan nodded. Right, Danielle. She went down to Spike. Okay, Spike, tell me exactly what Rarity's been doing. When did her odd behavior start? Spike took a deep breath and said, Well, I woke up last night to use the little dragon's room and found her downstairs floating, surrounded by floating scrolls and ponykins. I didn't think much of it at first, but when I got up this morning, she was still there. Looked like she hadn't slept a wink. He hung his head. I should have said something, but she gave me this little pat on the head and a smile and said... He trailed outside, a goofy smile darting across his eyes as he fluttered his eyes. Megan looked over at Spike. Spike? Spike! She snapped her fingers in front of his face, getting his attention back. Okay, so then what? Daniel spoke. How did you all get those gems? She waved her arm in the cart to the boutique. That's the same out of work. Spike shrugged. Verity talked to the diamond dogs in the gem fields last night before we got home, and asked them for some gems this morning. They had all 6 carts in the gems I ate here by sunrise. He chuckled. That's my Rarity for you. The door suddenly swung open, rattling his head as Megan stood up. Rarity? She walked to the door, ducking her head. She stood up in the main showroom of Carousel Boutique and looked around, finally spotting her at the far end of the room, her eyes widening. Rarity, what have you been doing? The unicorn sat at a stool, hunched over a table with several pieces of paper pinned to it in the adjacent wall. Her mane and tail were uncombed, with stray hair sticking out. Her coat, normally smooth and shining, had a dull look to it, as if it hadn't been washed since before yesterday's party. Her head whipped around as sketches telekinetically flew about. Some of them crumbled into balls and tossed into the overflowing wastebasket. No, 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 no! Rarity threw her forelegs in the air. Why can't I make this work? Megan walked over to the wastebasket and picked up one of the sketches. She unfolded, revealing a humanoid figure wearing a fancy dress. She looked over at Rarity. The races? She picked up another and unfolded, revealing a tuxedo. What's lace for? Rarity hopped off the stool and looked up to Megan. She glanced to the side as Michelle, Danielle, the Crusaders, and Spike walked in. It's for the gala, of course. She sniffed and hiccuped. Pumpkins floated about, along with measuring tape and gemstones. You're the magne. Give her gifts. But I'm the element of generosity. So I wanted to make formal attire for you and your family for the biggest event of the year. She threw her head back and let out a strangled scream. But my muses have abandoned me! She slipped to the floor, tears streaming from her eyes. Megan's eyes darted about, focusing on Sweetbelt, then back on Rarity. The biggest event of the year? Rarity's head raised slightly. Well, I believe the gala may have been a bit after your time, come to think of it. She slowly brought her legs under her, standing to a position. Come to think of it, although I can't quite place the year of the first gala. She let a sigh. Oh, after what you and your family done for us, I simply couldn't let you go in any old thing you might have. Megan swallowed. Well, you see, the old... Rarity continued, cutting her off. And, well, to be the designer of the magnate's formal attire for his debut in Catalan society, my reputation would soar to the heavens! Her eyes widened and sparkled, but they constantly lost their sign. But alas, I have nothing! Nothing! Sweetbelt galloped forward, skidding to a halt next to Rarity. She threw her stubby forelegs around her sister's neck. You'll figure it out, Rarity. You're the best sister and designer in all of Ponyville. No, all of Equestria! Rarity's muzzle turned up in a smile as he leaned into Sweetbelt's hug. Thank you, Sweetie Belle. She let out a sigh as the filly let go. A few designs rose into the air and floated by. Rarity's head began nodding to an internal beat. Step by step, stitching it together, making steps, but the covers are off the hit. Just as she said, I haven't got the clue. I just say I think I'll rue. I can't make Megan stress. Daniel's eyebrow quirked. Why, is he singing? She looked down at Dinky. Well, how's Rarity singing? Dinky shrugged. You get used to it. Skulu merely stuck at her tongue, gagging. Megan stood up. She held her arms out. Rarity, you're stitching it together. All these designs, why, they're simply divine. I think you've got the clue. Anyone that will simply do. You're making my new dress. Megan spun around, picking up a sketch of her in a button-up dress with a belt clenched at the waist and shoulders. Rarity, this would be perfect for me. She knelt down in front of the seamstress. Honestly, anything you could come up will be great for us. She glanced to her side at Danielle and Michelle, still at the doorway. Right? Danielle rubbed her chin. Well, look great on you, Mom. Michelle nodded, grinning. A real ain't ugly. Rarity's sigh shifted from the children to Megan. Consider a hero of yours. Oh, yeah. Megan leaned in close. To tell you the truth, Rarity, I was at the first gala. Every pony in the room gasped. Rarity's right eye spasmed. You what? She bounced around Megan. Tell me how it was. She hopped up into her hind legs, leaning her forelegs against Megan and staring up at her. I was the most glamorous event in all of Equestria back then. Megan scratched her temple with her thumb, sweat suddenly appearing there. Well, not so glamorous. Applejack's legs tensed before she broke into a full run down a path. She quickly reached the end, but her front hooves clipped a small piece of wood driven into the ground. The earth pony let out a shriek as she tumbled over head over tail, rolling around sawdust before coming over to a crashing halt. Overhead, Firefly looked down and chuckled before flying off, Bloodwing on her tail. Prime Minister, Smart Cookie of the Ponies of the Plains, glanced over before turning back to Megan. Wind Whistler of Paradise Estate and Prince Bluebud II of the Mages of the Rock. Luna and Celestia dug into pies to surprise and bake, their muzzles covered with blueberry filling. Oh! Molly and Northstar sat under a tree, simply talking. Other ponies played, ate food, engaged in games, and merriment is surviving another year at Drying Valley, with hope and laughter in the air. I'd call it almost a glorified picnic, Megan finished. She shook her head, a wistful smile on her mouth. She looked down at Rarity, who was back on the floor. I'm guessing nowadays it's a bit more formal. Rarity's head bobbed up and down, her maid waving about. Oh, darling, it's the biggest social event of the year! Princess Celestia is always in attendance! She looked to her left. Spike, has Twilight ever gone? Spike swallowed. His scales reddened slightly as he looked around, focusing on anything but Rarity. Well, that is... He scratched his cheek. Not really. Actually, she spent most of the time in the library. He shrugged. Well, what do you expect for her? Rarity blinked. Good point, Spike. Thank you. She said, smiling. She looked to Megan. I've already made dresses for Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Pinkie Pie, Twilight, and Fluttershy. Those were easy, out of fashion. One file standing over May sprung up. But for the human form, it's just so difficult. I don't even have measurements for your bodies. Megan looked herself over. She glanced at Danielle and Michelle. Girls? Up for a little modeling for Rarity for Gala? Michelle clapped her hands together and rocked back and forth on her heels. Sure, Mom! She hopped down the stairs, bent down and picked a stray measuring tape. She held it up, stretched it out, and held it against her waist. Rarity's horn glowed, and measuring tape floated out of Michelle's hands. She adjusted her glasses and tried forward. My dear Michelle, I see you in ribbons, she exclaimed, waving a foreleg into the air. Sleigh Bell bounded over the stairs high. Oh, let me help Rarity, please! Daniel looked over to Megan. So, you think Dad, Uncle Danny, and Aunt Molly will mind this? Megan opened her mouth, but the loud crash of Sleigh Bell tumbling into a ponykin, causing her to wince slightly. Well, Mog's here already, so it shouldn't take too much arm twisting, she said, winking. As for Danny and Molly, I was thinking he could come over for a few hours to get measured. She winced again as Sleigh Bell tumbled into a storage cabinet, knocking over the top drawers and sending ribbons, spools of cloth, and thread cascading down to the filly. Sleigh Bell, are you... The filly popped out of the pile, forelegs held in the air. I'm okay! Oh, I'm seeing this in my head, people, but it's Sleigh Bell covered in ribbons, and it looks simply adorable! Megan cracked her jaw, leaned in closer to her older daughter. Okay, the tree set makes a lot more sense now. Twilight's eyes bulged out. She slammed her hose onto the table and spat out the barley soup she was eating. You're getting married? Twilight shouted, head switching back and forth. Across the table at the open-air cafe sat Shining Armor and Cadence, both with bits of barley soup dribbling out their faces. Cadence's horn glowed, and napkins floated out, dabbing their muscles and faces. Several other patrons and the waiter himself stared at the trio as Cadence cleaned herself and her fiancé off. Yes, she said, leaned in close to him, smiling. Shining Armor's cheeks turned beet red. Aw, Smoopy-Doo. He focused on Twilight. It was a bit sudden, I'll admit, but a long time in coming. His gaze drifted to Cadence. We knew each other even before she Falstaff for you, and we've been spending so much time together. His eyes drifted close to Cadence's, their eyes locked together. Sudden grunting to the side of the table, snatched Shining Armor and Cadence out of their reverie. The waiter looked at him, his right eyebrow raising. Is there something wrong? He asked, eyes narrowing. Shining Armor scratched the back of his head, right behind his ear. Well, no problems, he muttered. He sighed and looked at Twilight, sitting there with a blank stare. Twilight, are you all right? He asked, leaning over the table. Cadence swallowed. Twilight, if you have any objections, please speak up. I don't want any hidden feelings between us, all right? Twilight finally blinked. Objections! She leaped up her chair and hopped about in a circle, barely avoiding the other patrons and waiters. Yes, 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 yes! She cried out, grinning wildly. She hopped up next to the chair and sat back down. This is great! What's the wedding? Can I help? She looked at Cadence. Can I be your mayor of please? Cadence hesitated a moment before speaking. Well, yes, of course you can. Her upper body sagged a bit. Her wings fluttered a bit of relief. Truth be told, I was a bit nervous about your reaction. Her knows you could be a bit protective of Shining here. She slid a foreleg around Shining Armor's foreleg, drawing him closer. Shining Armor's cheeks blushed once more. He looked at Twilight. Sorry I didn't tell you before, Twilight. Things have been a bit insane at Caroline. What with the Magnate's return, my work with the guard, and the gallop coming up. He looked to the sky. But there's no real excuse for us not to at least send you a letter or to call you up. Cadence's lips twisted a small smile. Except we don't have the phone number for the Ponyville Public Library, she said, winking at Twilight. Twilight shook her head. I should have made time to write or call you up, and even tell my friends about you. Things have been a bit crazy here, too, but not as crazy sounding as in Canterlot. She hung her head. I'm sorry, she whispered. Shining Armor reached over and patted his sister's foreleg. No worries, Twilight. Already forgiven. Mike grunted slightly as he pulled back on his socket wrench, tightening the last nut on the broken wheel on the Apple family's market cart. He, Big Mac, and Caramel were inside the maintenance shed near the main house. Caramel was sharpening and honing an axe on a pedal grindstone, while Big Mac was lifting the cart from underneath. Mike looked to him. All right, Big Mac, I'll sit now. The Earth Pony nodded, lowering himself down to the sawdust-covered wood floor and slid out from underneath it. The cart creaked slightly, but the axle hub held tight. Caramel flipped his head back, flipping his face mask up. He looked over to the cart. That's some good work, Mike. I'll tell you. You really know what you're doing. Big Mac tapped the wheel and nodded. Yup. You'll do one big bang-up job, Mac. He tilted his head to the side, chewing on a suckle leak. Them hands are mighty useful for you. Took a lot less time than you should have normally. Mike shrugged. Meh. Two working on it instead of one speeds up everything. He stepped over to his toolbox and began reorganizing. Although, you two might do with your hose, mouse, and tail. He stuck out his tongue and made a face. Although, some of the stuff you pick up with your mouth. He grimaced and shuddered. Caramel shrugged. Not as bad as you might think, Mike. Tell you what. Mike walked over to a spot wall lined with tools hanging from hooks. He picked up a hammer and hefted. Just like the stuff I used, he observed. Applejack, Granny Smith, and Fluttershy soon walked in, Fluttershy clutching a basket in her mouth. Applejack trotted over to the cart and kicked at the hub. Well, it's even better than before. She looked at Mike and nodded briefly. Take your kindly, Mike. You're one decent fellow. Mike shrugged. No big deal, Applejack. He looked to the side of Granny Smith. Looked down as she leaned on her walker. Oh, hello, he said, taking a half step to his right. He held out his hand, but quickly withdrew it. Granny Smith lowered her head. What? I'm sorry, dear whippersnapper. Greatest waste of name. I amplify is my name. Well, I just never thought I'd glad to see one day when a real live human will be seen here in Sweet Apple Acres. She held up a trembling foreleg. We've got stuff here from afar, so I know way bit about you. Well, it's just in the face. Mike bent down and slowly took Granny Smith's hoof. Yeah, in the flesh, just like you are. Nothing really special about me, ma'am. Granny Smith snorted. Don't you be demanding me, you whippersnapper! I'm not as old. She turned and shuffled off, muttering under her breath. We got lunch anyhow, if you're in hunger. She said over her shoulder. Big Mac, Mike, and Caramel's stomachs all growled, and all three chuckled or simply nodded. They followed Granny Smith and Applejack out of the shed. Caramel breaking from the group and heading to one of the 3 apple fields. Mike checked his watch. Celestia told us to be back at Poleville as soon as we can. I think I got enough time for one brief bite to eat before heading back. Applejack nodded, sighing. Oh, that's right. Concern it. I was looking forward to that picnic. She slowed her pace, letting Mike catch up to her. She looked down. A real shame to let that picnic start to go to waste, wouldn't you say? She announced, winking to him. Mike opened his mouth and paused to sit down. Oh, right. Yeah, of course. He looked at Big Mac on his left. Listen, why don't you and Fluttershy go off and have a nice, leisurely lunch to yourself? No need to let this lovely day go to waste. Big Mac stopped dead in his tracks. Yep, what? Applejack tried up to Fluttershy, tapped her lightly in the barrel, nearly knocking the Pegasus over. Yeah, you two have fun, you hear? Fluttershy's eyes widened. She had the basket out of her mouth. What? Her cheeks went scarlet. But. A grunting from Granny Smith caught Applejack's attention. She swung around and tried to the back of the group as the elder Earth Pony eyed her. Yeah, Granny? She asked, piecing a grin onto her muscle. Granny Smith leaned forward on her walker. Laying in a little fake, ain't you? Applejack faltered slightly. Well... A sigh escaped for Granny Smith. She leaned to her right. Now, well, there you go. Could you tell me a bit about human life? I'm a bit curious. She walked over to Applejack, up to Mike. I'm sure you won't now, Big Mac and Johnson Fast get the picnic this time? Big Mac sighed and rolled his head. Nope. Mike nodded. Sure. He nodded to Big Mac. You and Fluttershy had fun. He and Granny Smith and Applejack walked off, leaving the Earth Pony Stallion and the Pegasus mare alone on the dirt path. He looked back over his shoulder as to, think we weren't settled enough? Applejack shrugged her shoulders. Nah, they'll soon need this. She cocked her head to the side. I hope. Fluttershy swallowed and kicked the dirt, setting up a small dust cloud. Sweat formed on her brow. Her breath quieted quickly. Ah! Big Mac walked up to her, leaned his head down, and gently took the basket handle in his mouth. He raised his head, locking eyes with Fluttershy for a second. His head lingered there for a moment before he stepped back, cheeks burning a light violet. He tilted his head to the right, to another path that led away from the house, and to another one of the orchards. The two walked off past the apple trees, their comfortable silence broken by the occasional bird chirping or squirrel chittering. Some of the birds flew around Fluttershy's head, causing her to smile and Big Mac to blush again. They emerged into a shadowed clearing, the sun filtered through the tree branches. Big Mac set the picnic basket down, using hoof, tail, and teeth to set the blanket and food down. He looked at Fluttershy. They'd have a point. Oh, it's a shame to let the good food go to waste. He sat down, folding his strong legs under his body. Fluttershy followed suit, sitting at the edge of the blanket. She kept her eyes down. Yeah, Applejack always makes good food. She buried her face into a carton of apple fritters, munching on them. Big Mac let out a sigh.
Mike's got a good heart. He's a good guy. All by his soul, as my old real sergeant do,
he said, snoring. Fluttershy looked up. Really? Oh, that's right. You were in the military for a while. The stallion nodded.
Yep. Tank Corps.
He took a bite from his wheat sandwich. Silence descending for another few minutes as they ate. Big Mac finally looked back at Fluttershy.
Well, this ain't so bad. You're my fine company, Miss Fluttershy. Thank you for spending time with an old draft horseman like myself.
Fluttershy looked down at him, eyes slightly wide. Oh, draft horse? You're only 2 years older than I am, Macintosh. That's not old at all. She glanced away, her mane shifting to half her face closer to him. Thank you for spending some time with me. She let out a sigh. I'm not the most exciting company, I know.
Big Mac shrugged. Sometimes you just gotta slow down a bit, stop and smell the roses.
Fluttershy's head sawed up, her mane moving away. I know the feeling exactly. I dearly love my friends, but sometimes they move just so fast for me. She looked around at the trees and sighed. Oh, this is so nice. Big Mac swallowed.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind doing this again.
Fluttershy looked down. You wouldn't? She shrank back slightly. Well, it's been enjoyable. You're a little fast for me. Big Mac held it before like,
Yep. Nice and slow for me. I didn't mean nothing by it. Just, this is nice.
Fluttershy's locked eyes with him. I have a spa appointment with Rarity Thursday morning, but the rest of my day is free. She gulped. Well, would you have time for a picnic after? She winced, folding her wings over her head. If you don't mind, that is. Big Mac stood up. He stepped over to her and gently lifted one of her wings, smiling down at her.
Yeah, Miss Fluttershy. I reckon I have time for that. Thank you kindly for the invite.
Fluttershy folded her wings back along her barrel. She stood up, entire body trembling. Well, thank you, but please, no, Miss. Fluttershy will do. She paused. If that's all right with you. Big Mac's eyes widened. A slow smile crossed his face.
Yep.
Tiff leaned over to the other table. So, Discord's pretty much unstoppable without the rainbow of light? Celestia, sitting opposite of him, closed her eyes and shook her head. Maybe not the only thing, but nothing else we tried back then worked. We could wound him, we could wound him, but whatever injuries he suffered healed almost instantaneously. Luna nodded. She sat next to her older sister, a cup of coffee hovering close to her. Indeed, my most powerful spells and the lightning hurt him, but ultimately were not. She took a sip of coffee. Wings fluttered slightly. Ultimately, it took the reinforcing of the rainbow of light into the elements of harmony to stop him. And now, the sea is wakened, she said, looking to the other occupants of the room. Twilight, Megan, Mike, Daniel, Michelle, Shining Armor, and Cadence sat or stood near the occupied table. Megan stood up. All right, at least you're aware of the problem. So, break the seals where Twilight and the others have the elements ready. Sleeve him back up, and we'll swim the deep space into a harbor star. Celestia shook her head. A good idea, Megan, but I prefer to keep him close, observable. She looked from her to Shining Armor. Captain Armor, the Royal Guard is supposed to 24-hour watch around Discord's statue. is to be maintained at all times and all costs. Anything odd is to be reported immediately. Is this understood? Signing Armor stood about. It'll be done, Your Majesty. Chip runs his tin. Late. Shouldn't that be Spanish Steel who gives the order? Celestia nodded to Chip, nodding. Very servant, Chip. Any other soldier, yes. The Royal Guard, however, is under the control of Luna and myself. She paused a moment, as if to gather her thoughts. Chip, Luna and I have told you much about Equestria. And you have told us much about Earth. When you have gone back, what will you tell President Abernathy? Chip glanced down at the table, drumming his fingers on the polished wood. I can't set policy, but I can make recommendations. He looked up at Celestia and Luna. I recommend full diplomatic relations, technology and magic exchanges and the like. There's a lot we can learn from each other. He barked and laughed. There's one guy I know named Preston who killed to study your magic. Celestia stood up, bowing her head. Thank you, she said, tears glistening in her eyes. Thank you, Chip. Thank you. Luna stood up and extended a wing over her sister. She looked at Chip. May this day mark a new dawn for both our peoples, Chip. She looked at Megan, still sitting on a cushion. Thank you, Megan. Without you, Daddy or Monty, none of this would even be possible. Megan's eyes darted about as everyone focused to her. A shaky smile crossed her lips as she blushed. Lead us, Dariet, she mumbled, shrinking back a bit. But you're welcome. Chip stood up, slight worry coming from his knees and ankles. He grabbed his briefcase, checked it, and closed it. Although I'd like to stay, I do have a report to file and a meeting with the president to attend. He bowed to the princesses. Thank you, Your Majesties. Celestia and Luna bowed back. Thank you, Chip, Celestia said. I shall teleport you all back to Earth myself. Luna bowed her head, clamping her lips up. And I shall retire for tonight's work. A good day to you all. She nuzzled Celestia before trying to the door, everyone standing in her wake. The door opened as she approached. Her body contracted, becoming an ethereal mist that was carried away by the wind. Celestia let out a sigh before smiling. I have a good feeling about this. Nice lips twins. Don't jinx yourselves, princess. It's a long road ahead. Celestia looked at him, inclining her head. A good point, Mike. But I think we've taken our first step towards a brighter tomorrow.